for the Just Tech Eye competition. So we'll wait a few more moments and see if anybody else can join. I know that you have to download some software in order to join, so it might take people a little bit longer to join. Um, while we're waiting, I'll note that there is a chat option. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in. I'll try to keep an eye out on the chat and see if there's any questions that come in during the presentation. And if there are, I'll try to answer them, but I'll also look at it at the end to answer any questions that might have come up. So yeah, so we'll wait a few more minutes while others are coming in, and then we will go from there. Okay, one more minute. Uh, 8 people, okay. Let's see a few more. Let's see, can I pull this out? Yeah, much better. All right, let's get going. Just to let you know, and anybody else, I'll mention this at the end. We'll record this webinar, so if there's anything you wanted to go back to and see again, feel free to do so. We'll post it on YouTube and then link to it on the Just Network site. And then so feel free to look that up at any time. So let's get started. Okay, so in this webinar, we're going to go over what TechEye is and is it right for you. So the majority of it, we're going to be talking about what TechEye is, and then we're also going to walk through the application process and see the different aspects, so you're not surprised when you go on and apply if you haven't already. So let's get started. So the overall GIST initiative is in order to facilitate and help science and technology innovation and entrepreneurship in all ecosystems across the world. And so GIST operates a number of different programs, TechEye just being one of them. It helps young men and women get the skills needed to pursue their entrepreneurship dreams. And so some of the things, and I've listed them here on this slide. There's startup training, there's a Tech Connect, the GIST Network, which is great to connect to Mentor Match, which is another one. They have innovation hubs that they do in different countries. And then, of course, TechEye that we're going to talk about today. So why TechEye? So TechEye is basically in the same vein as all the other GIST activities, which is it's trying to encourage and support science and technology entrepreneurship. We do this through the training and mentorship that happen on the ground. So if you make it to the finals, we'll have 2 days of training, and then we'll also connect you with a mentor who will help you along the way. During the finals, we also try to connect you with other entrepreneurs, scientists, angel investors, and venture capitalists. Anyone who might be at the finals, we try to connect you with those individuals. And additionally, with your mentors that you get at the finals, they'll also help you connect to other individuals that would be of interest to you. So, and that leads us to networking opportunities, which is sort of what I explained here. There's access to capital through those networking opportunities. And then we also offer prize support. This year, it's around $35,000 is the total pot, and that will be broken up for different prizes in different categories. That's going to come out later in the competition. We'll hope to have further information on that once we announce it. So also the great thing about GIST, and one of the things I hear from all the entrepreneurs is that if nothing else, it helped them get recognition both nationally and internationally. I've had several finalists who have competed in previous years who have come in and said, well, the prize was really great, but what was great was we got to meet with our prime minister and talk with the Ministry of Science or talk to the Ministry of Innovation, and they helped us along with some grants and stuff like that. So it really, that to me, it seems to be the to have the most benefit of the program. So there are some eligibilities in order to apply. You must be from one of the GIST countries. There are 132 on the website for GIST-TechEye. We list them, so go to that one. It's slightly different from the overall GIST network countries that they work in. So you might want to check out the list. Make sure that your country is one of the ones listed. And so if you go to the TechEye main page, there should be a menu on the right, and it will say eligible countries or eligible economies. And so you click on that and it gives you the list of all those economies and countries that are eligible. You have to be between the ages or from 18 to 40. So you can be 18, anything in between, and you can be 40. So those are the age requirements. For the application, it must be written in English. The reason why is that we have people who review this application, and they are primarily English only speakers. And so we need it to be in English for us to judge across the board for those different applications. Also, the video must be in English as well, either in English or subtitled in English. We've had several applicants from the past that have been subtitled in English, and it works quite well, and so it's not an issue. All right, so for the application, we have two different stages, either idea stage or startup stage. If you go onto the GIST-TechEye website, there is an FAQ or frequently asked questions link. And if you have questions about what exactly a startup versus idea is, it's highlighted there. But also on that page, there's a link to the program announcement, which includes all the rules and also breaks up the idea and startup stage very clearly. So if you're interested in that, go to that website or email me and I can provide you with the program announcement. But it's available on the web. You can be from any sector. So healthcare, agriculture, energy, ICT, environment, even aerospace. We've had people apply from a variety of different sectors. One that I don't see on here that we've had in the past is education, which is really one that we've seen a lot of people in recently. And when you go on to your application, you'll have the ability to choose which sector your idea or startup goes into. And so you can choose at that point, and there are a lot of options, but you can also choose other if that's the case. And we'll walk through the application so you can see all the aspects of it and anything that you might have run into that was a problem. All right, so we'll run down the application and then we'll take you through a demo to see how the application actually works and any troubleshooting issues that you might have. So first of all, it's going to ask you for a variety of biographical information. This is both on you, about like how old you are, where you live, and then it's also about your startup or your idea. So it wants to get some idea of what sector it is, for example, and the like of that. Once that's done, you'll have several business and scientific questions about the startup and idea. And we're going to go over them in this next slide so you can see what they are so you'll be ready. And then finally, a video. I have to stress that the video has to be 90 seconds, and we'll go over some aspects of the video, but we'll also do a separate webinar next week at this time, which we will go over how to make a promotional video and any questions you might have about that video. So if you're interested in learning more about the video, let us know, and of course check out that webinar that will happen next week. All right, so here I'm going to walk through the business and science questions that are asked. These are limited in the amount of words that you can put in. And so the first one is a project summary. So this should be pretty short. Think of something around 1 to 2 sentences. And the reason why is we're going to use that to help promote you if you make it onto the finals. So if you go onto the semifinals, I should say. So if you make it onto the semifinals, you'll enter a vote stage. And again, we'll go over the aspects of the competition after we're done with the application. But you'll go into a voting stage, and we're going to use that tagline or those 2 sentences in order to explain your idea to the public. It's helpful to have it short and sweet and to the point so that people who don't know about your idea or your startup can easily understand what it is that they're looking at, and then they might be encouraged to vote for you. I see that we have a couple people that have joined on. Just to let you know, we are recording this, so if you missed any of the items before, we can you'll be able to view it online on YouTube, and also we'll post a link to it on the GIST website. And I'll repeat that a couple of times as people come in.
Yeah.
All right, so then next are the significance and scientific technical innovation questions. So this is really getting at why your idea or startup is scientific and technically an innovation. So as you can see here, you describe the innovation, you talk about or what the problem is, you describe the innovation, you describe the current stage of the development, and then how it's novel compared to other solutions. These are really important questions. So once you apply, we will have reviewers look over your application and determine whether or not it should go on to the semifinals. And so especially describing the problem is a very important thing, because these reviewers are going to come from all over the world, but they might not be familiar with some of the different problems that you might experience in your particular country. And so explaining exactly what the problems are is an important aspect of this. I'll give you an example of this from last year. One of our finalists, she developed a system that would allow women to order women's sanitary products in Pakistan. And to someone who might be in the US, going to the store and getting that sort of item is not an issue, but in Pakistan it is quite an issue, and it can cause problems. And so highlighting that it is a problem and what exactly the problem is important.
Hello?
When you describe when you apply. So describing the innovation, pretty straightforward. Your current stage of whether you have a prototype or you're just you have an MVP. That's gives our reviewers understanding of exactly where you are. And then especially it's important to explain why it's novel versus anything else that's on the market.
Hello?
So then the next set of questions will be business questions. So when we have your application reviewed, they're reviewed by both scientists and by business people. And so it's important to explain both sides of the innovation, both the scientific aspect and the business aspect of your application and your startup, your idea. And so you want to talk about how you're going to make money. That's an important thing that always comes up. When I've seen the finals and people pitch their ideas, it's often questioned by judges, well, how are you going to make money? So be sure to include an in-depth, as much as 200 words possible, of how you're going to make money. Describe your team member or your team members. So what type of people are you working with? And if you've not identified a team member, or if you're just like in this idea stage, what you want to do in this space is highlight where you need to find what team members you need to bring on board. So if you need someone who has marketing skills, say that you plan to recruit someone with marketing skills to help you in your next stage. if it's just, so you can apply if you're just a one-person team, that's not an issue. But just make sure that in this space where you're describing the team aspect, you talk about what people you're going to bring on to help the startup go further. Because those reviewers want to know you have a plan for how you're going to go forward. And again, this is sort of how you're going to go forward, your current near-term projected traction in the market. So any metrics you have, any estimates of customers you're going to have or who's your customer. If you don't have this information, especially if you're at the idea stage, it's not a problem, but highlight places that you would look or places where you would go forward, like identifying your customer and who is out there. And maybe you can estimate how many customers there are.
Hello?
And then the final question
Hello?
is how you would use the prize money that you get from the competition. This helps people know. I mean, this is often asked when people, if you've seen Shark Tank or Lion's Den or Dragon's Den, I think those are all of them. They'll ask what they plan to do with this funds or with these funds, and so having an idea of that will help reviewers understand what you're going to do with the funds and where you're going to go. Okay, so we're going to go through an application demo, and I'm going to walk you guys through how to apply. I'm going to exit out of this screen. So let's see. And let's minimize this. And so I'm going to pull up, and let me make sure you all can view this. Let's see. So you should be able to view the website now. Oh, it keeps on pushing that audience view away. This is the Just Network website. This is where you want to start at. So one thing I'll point out is that before you can apply, you have to be logged in or registered. So if you see right up here, I'm not sure if it's coming across. It doesn't. Oh yeah, there it goes. You can see the login and register aspect of the competition. Let me change this. Can I change the? Oh well, there we go. Red. So that's where you want to start. So if you're registering, you click on the registration link, and it takes you to the registration. So you will fill out all these fields. There are not too many of them, and then you just have to confirm that you're not a robot. Once you've done that, you should receive an email that says that to confirm that your account is valid. So look for that email. Sometimes it goes to your spam or junk folder. So keep an eye out on those folders. If you don't receive an email saying to confirm your account, let me know and send me an email and we can go from there and see what we can do. So that's what you have to do to begin with. And then once you're there, you would log in to your account. And so this is what the login looks like to start off before the application. One thing I'm going to point out here, and let me grab this little drawer. If you have an account and you don't know your password or you forgot it, there's a link here that says request new password. So you want to click on that. And no, I don't want to save that. So, and in here, you'll enter your email or username, and you should, after clicking on the email new password, you should receive a link to connect you to get you a new password. If you don't receive that email, it might be, again, in your junk or spam mail. So go ahead and check those, but send us an email as well, and we can see what we can do about it. So if we go back to the login, I'm going to log in, techeye@aaas.org, and then my password. All right, so I'm logging in. So there's my when you log in, it'll take you to your kind of profile page. And so what I like to do at this point is to direct people just to go back to the main page. So if you click on the Just logo at the top, it'll direct you back as soon as to the main page. And so you can either click here or There's also a Just Tech Eye link here that you can go to. But since we have the link to click here to apply, we'll just click on that. Here we have how to apply. So you might want to read through this before you get going in your application. It goes through all the aspects that you might need to know ahead of time. And I'd like to point out here that there is right there the email that you need to know. Email that email that goes directly to me. Nope. Shoot, what? And I can answer the questions. That is the best email if you have questions on your application to send it to, or anything about the competition. That is the best email. I sometimes send out emails through another account that's techeye@AAAS.org, but that goes out to a lot of other people, and sometimes I get a lot of replies for that. And so if you're specifically looking at applying and you have questions about the application or about the competition, email that email rather than the AAAS email. All right, so as you can see, there's a cool video about the past competition if you want to view it. And so what we're going to do, actually, before we get going on the application, I'll point out, I mentioned this earlier. Whoops, undo. Let's see. Whoops, cancel. I mentioned this earlier. On this side here, you have these important links. And so here, sorry, keeps on bouncing back. So here's the full competition announcement. I'll click through just so you can see it. This is a PDF. See, and this goes through all the different aspects of the competition. This is the top provides a really great overview of the timeline of the competition and all the aspects of it. And here's a great breakdown of this idea and startup stage if you had any questions about this. This goes over all the different aspects, the eligibility requirements, any rules that might come into play. And then an important thing that you should be looking at when applying is this. It goes over how your application will be reviewed. So you can see there's different categories for idea and startup stage, but on each of these, we went over the science and technical questions, and so when you're filling in those questions, you should refer back to this section and see what it says about what the reviewers will be looking for. Likewise, for the business strategy, you should look at this section to review if there's anything that you need to include. And then finally, for the video itself, we have it's worth 20 points or 20% of the application for both. And so this will describe some of the video. And I'll stress again, we'll do a webinar strictly on the video next week. And so if you have a lot of questions about that, don't worry, we'll get to that next week. So let's go back to the main page and scroll down. So the other thing I'll point out here, this is the list of the emerging economies that you can look at to make sure that you're included on that. And then I'll point out this is the FAQ. So this is a great resource. And I can't stress this enough that you check this out, because in here we go over a lot of different aspects of the competition that people have questions about. And so this is Just Tech Eye for me, like we're going over right now. This is some of the aspects that we're going to be talking about. And then here's the eligibility requirements, and then the idea versus startup stage. So you can see there's a lot of information in here that you might be interested in looking over. And it has links at the top that will take you down to those different aspects. Another thing I'll point out here is when we post this webinar, so we're recording it again for those that came in late, and we'll post, so once we're finished with this webinar, the link right here for the current webinar will go away, and we'll put instead the link to the video so you can see it. But then I'll also point out that there are two other webinars that we'll do, one on the promotional video, as I mentioned earlier, and then one on the final tips for completing the application. So now we'll go back, and we'll go to the apply now. So now we're going to look at the application. So you'll see now, since you've created an account, a lot of this stuff will be filled out for you in advance. So your name, your email address, uh, you'll need to select a country of citizenship and a country of residency. We understand that there might be differences. So you might be, for example, you might be from Kenya, uh, and your citizenship is Kenyan, but you're living in another country such as, I don't know, Uganda, or you're living in the Ukraine or some other place that's not actually the where you're a citizen of. We allow for you to put in your country of residence as well. So if they're the same, that's fine. So if you're Kenyan, just put Kenyan or Kenya and for the citizenship and Kenya for the residency. Next is the gender, the age, and then we're asking if you have a valid passport and to confirm that you can read, write, and listen in English. Um, the reason why we ask about a passport is we just want to be aware of who has a passport and who doesn't, so that when it comes to the finals and we know that you might not have a passport, we'll be mindful of that and we'll help you along with that, to make sure that you might need a little bit more time in order to get your visa or anything else needed to travel. So it just helps us plan ahead for the finals. So those are the biographical information on you. And now we ask about the information about the startup. So you can see we have the name of the organization, the name of the product. If it's the same, that's fine. Just put the same name in there. The number of employees. If you are working by yourself and you have 0 employees, just put 0. Income of business, yearly income of business. 0 again if you don't have anything. If you have something, go ahead and put it. And then investment, same thing. If you don't have any investment, just put 0. You have to put a numerical value though in order for it to for you to submit. So please put an actual 0, not write out the number. So again, if you don't have any of those, any employees or income or investment, just put 0. It's not an issue. And then here are some background informations we ask. We just want to know, like, have you participated in any competitions before? How you heard about us? That's very helpful because then once we know that, we can know what avenues we should reach out to in terms of spreading the news about the competition. And then we ask a final question is if we can provide information to local media about your participation. This is mainly for if you make it to the semifinals. We want to reach out to news media and let them know that, for example, in your maybe in your particular country, there's a well-known newspaper or media outlet. We might want to let them know that you're participating in the competition just to get them a heads up. Hopefully it gets you more publicity. So that's what we're hoping for, but feel free to click any of the options, but we hope you'll be open to us providing information to local media. So now we actually get into the actual project. So there's select a value for an idea or startup. I kind of went over those earlier. And again, you can refer back to the program announcement to see the differences between those two. Next is the elevator pitch. We've kind of gone over all this before when I spoke about it earlier with the slides. And then there's science and technical questions. We ask about whether it's a prototype idea, if you're selling to customers, that sort of information. And then your business strategy questions, which we've gone over before. Next is the pitch video. And so I want to point out a couple of things in this, in the pitch video, is that you have several options or a couple of options to upload your video. So one is a URL. So this means that you've uploaded the video to YouTube and you take that link and you put it into, here, I'll use the drawer. You put it into this URL link. So that's, but be aware you have to upload that either to YouTube or Vimeo or some other sharing site that allows you to upload, or no, that. Oh shoot, sorry. Gotta scroll back down to the video option. Uh, Another option that I would put out is the video upload. So this is if you don't have it on uh, uh, a site such as YouTube. If you click on this, you can see you can upload the video directly to the application. So see here, it's asking me about where I want to pull the uh, the video from that I have on my computer. I don't have anything to upload, so I won't put anything. But those are the two options. I'll tell you that preferred is this one, the URL upload, uh, which it makes it easier, and especially from what I understand is during the vote aspect, it can create a thumbnail from that video and put it on your voting page, and so sometimes that doesn't work when you just upload the video to the application under video upload. So those are the two options. If you have any trouble with video upload, let me know and I can see what I can do. The last few aspects are the terms and conditions, just agreeing that you've read through the competition program announcement and that you confirm that it's an original idea for the competition. And one thing I'll point out for this application, so you'll see, and I'll create a marker, it'll take me up again, but you'll see these red asterisks. Those, as we go back to the top, are required fields. So you have to have something filled in in order to go down here to the bottom and save. So it doesn't, so for example, if I wanted to fill out something, say I didn't know right now, or I didn't have the information of how my innovation is novel compared to other solutions. You don't have to actually fill in that full thing because you can come back and edit it. So you can just write in test or let's see, like will fill in soon or whatever. You just need to fill in something for that for those fields that require you to submit. Once you've done that, then you can save. Now there's no submission button, you'll notice. So the thing is that basically what you can do is you can save your application once you finished it, or even if you're just, like I said, you're putting in placeholders like I just did up here, we'll fill in soon. So you can save that, but it's basically once the competition deadline happens, any application that has been saved will be considered submitted. So so that's what you need to keep in mind. But I'll stress enough, don't feel obligated if you don't have the information to fill out, or if you're just like, you want to look at the application, then just go ahead and fill in, test or something else in these fields in order to make sure that they have something in them, and then you can save it and then go back and actually fill in those things. So I'll run through this really quickly as much as possible. So, I'm obviously not from Antarctica, but I can put that in for right now. And, I guess I'm Armenia. You can choose do not disclose. Oops, do not disclose. I'll say I'm 22, although I'm not. Yes, yes. And then again, see, if you don't have the answers to all these aspects, you can always just enter in test, environment, number of employees. Like I said, you can put 0, 0, 0. You don't have to fill out these because they're not actually required. You can see that there's no asterisks. So startup stage, let's say I'm a startup. And then again, if you don't know what your elevator pitch is at this time when you're online, just write in test or some other text soon or something like that. It just has to be one word. And then just so that you have something filled in for those fields that are required. Again, if you don't know, just click prototype. Remember, you can always come back and change these and up until the deadline. Again, test, 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 test. And then for a video, I'll just copy this link that's here. I'm not sure what that is. Copy and just put it down there. Paste. And you can put in a filler video if you need to. If you don't have a video at this point in time, that's fine. But just remember, you've got to update that before the competition closes. Otherwise, we'll just have that filler video, and you might be excluded from the review process if you don't have an actual video that promotes your application. All right, and then so I go save, or excuse me, I've reviewed, I've confirmed, and so now that I've filled out all the aspects that are needed, I can then save. So if there was something I was missing, so say I forgot, let's leave something blank. I left that blank and I saved. What would happen is it says up here in red that I haven't entered information for this particular field. So at this time, it hasn't saved it. Now, all my responses are currently there, but it hasn't. But at this point in time, the application itself hasn't been saved. So if I was to close this window, none of my information would be saved. So you need to keep an eye out on this top bar to make sure there are no red things. And we'll show you what it looks like if I go down here and fill out that. See, it says, you can see in red that the field that I didn't fill in is blank, so I'll write in test, and then I'll save, because now I've filled in everything that's required. And it's just compiling everything. Hopefully it All right, so see now I've got a green banner at the top, and it says I've completed my entry, and it's saved in the system. So if you don't see that one, then you should know that it's not, if you don't see that message, it's not been saved. So now you can see down here, I can see all my responses. Now, if there's anything at this point in time that I want to change, that I say like, oh, I don't like this this particular answer. I can then click on this, and I'll circle it, edit button, right? And then if I click edit, it'll take me back into the application, and I can edit any aspect of the application that might not that I might want to change. Then once you've done that, you just save again to make sure you saved it. And again, it says it's been updated, so it's giving me a green thing. Let me, so let me see if I can. Now, so if you have questions, you should, about like, if you don't know how to get to your application to modify it, if we go back, I think this works, if I'm correct. If we go back and we click here to apply now, and then go to the click to apply, you can see it populates, it already has my application in. So I can get to my application really easily that way. And then if I need to edit it, I can just click on the edit bar and then edit it at that point in time. There's, I think, a way to do this through my profile, so let's see. Applied trainings might be it. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's probably best to my entry, maybe that's it. Okay, so that's where it goes. So I learned something new. So you go to my entry if this is from the profile page, if you're on it, and then you should be able to view and edit it. But again, it's probably easier just to go to the main page of just click to apply, and then click here to apply, and it'll take you immediately to the application you filled out previously. And so you can edit it again at any time. So that's kind of that's the application aspect. Let me go ahead and get back to, let's not close that. Let's just get back to the application demo. All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the stages of TechEye. So there's the application stage, which we're currently in now, that runs until November 23rd. So you have approximately, I think it's a little over 3 weeks, or a little over 4 weeks actually, I think, or maybe, to apply. So yeah, like I said, if you need to just fill in the information, you can put in placeholders until you have the information and update at any time up until I believe it's noon on the 23rd. Yeah, noon on the 23rd. All the dates and times are listed on the program announcement. If you have any questions, or send us an email. So once you've applied and the deadline has passed, any application that has been saved will be viewed as submitted. We'll go ahead and do an internal review here at AAAS. And so that will include just making sure that you've filled out all the appropriate information and that it's a legitimate email. We won't be judging it based on the science or on the business aspect. So once we're done with that, it'll go to an external review where three judges will look over your application and then score it based upon the rubric that's in the program announcement. Again, that's on the main page if you need it, but also can provide that at a later date as well. We'll probably include that in the final tips webinar that we'll be doing in 2 weeks from now. So once the review is done, we'll take all the scores and we'll select from those the top 100 applicants. And those applicants will then go on to a semifinal round, which is a public vote. So during the public vote, it's about a month-long vote where your video will be featured and the summary of your application will be featured as well. And people will have the ability to vote for you and help you on to the next round. This is why it's important for the summary to be short and sweet and to the point about what your idea is or your startup is, and also why your video needs to be about a promotional video about the idea, and make it very clear to the outside world, people who aren't familiar with your idea, what exactly it is, why it's a benefit, and sort of that aspect. So if you I would say the best way to think about the video, and again, we'll have the webinar later or next week on the video, is to think about the different aspects that we're asking for in the other parts of the application. So some of the innovation behind it, what's the problem, and then how you're going to make money and stuff like that. So think about those things when you're putting together your video. So once the vote is over, the top 24, there's going to be 12 from idea stage and 12 from startup stage. Will go on to the finals. This year, the finals will be in Bahrain at the Global Entrepreneurship Congress. Those dates are already set, and if I encourage you to check out GEC's website. Those are it's basically mid-April. Let me look at my calendar. It's April 15th to the 18th. Those are the dates of the Congress. We'll probably start training a few days earlier, but this is all happening next year, and it's a ways away, so we have time. But during that time, you get 2 days of training, as I explained, and then you'll pitch your idea in front of a panel of judges. That panel of judges will then determine who will get the capital C prizes that will be awarded. And so next steps is to apply. People ask, should I apply? I don't know if I should apply. I think one of the major things I would stress is you have nothing to lose. If anything, you're applying, and then if you don't get accepted, that's fine. It doesn't take too long to fill out the application. So I encourage people to apply. If you have any questions, again, email me at techeye@justnetwork.org. I'm pretty responsive. I usually respond within a couple of minutes, if not within a couple of hours. And so I'm there. I'm here to answer your questions. And there'll be 2 future webinars that I mentioned earlier. There's one at next week, the 7th, and then there's another one on the 14th, which is in 2 weeks. I'm going to note real quick here that because the U.S., which is where we're based, changes their clocks at a different time. I know a lot of people already changed their clocks, but the U.S. will change its clocks this weekend as opposed to previously, and so just make note that the time difference will be there'll be a difference of an hour between the time where you joined this webinar versus the one that will start next week. So I think I looked it up, and I believe it was 3 p.m. GMT time. So that's what 1500 GMT time. So just be mindful of that and make a check to make sure that you're not either late or early. If you sign up for the next webinar, I'll send an email an hour in advance to remind you, like I did today, just to make sure that you're on it and you got the message. So now we're going to start with questions. If you have any, as I mentioned, there should be a chat option, and so you can just type in any question that you might have into the chat box. I'm here for any questions that you might have. I don't know what time it is. So we have at least 10 minutes to answer questions on the application or anything on the as far as the competition goes. I'll repeat for anyone who joined late, we're recording this, and we will provide a link to it on the GIST Network website to watch it if you missed any of the portions before that you want to catch up on. So, or if there's anything you missed or saw that you wanted to rewatch. So we are here for you. So I'll wait a few moments. I know you guys can message, because I can see people have messaged hello. So if there's any questions, I'm here for you. I'll put a thing in here. Whoops, any questions? We all got that. Oh, sorry.
Hello?
I see there's tons of questions. I apologize.
I wanted to know what
okay,
level.
sorry about that.
Is someone
The screen didn't go all the way down. Okay.
Or as
all right. A new possible to view the webinar later. I mentioned that yes, we can view the webinar later. I'll just have to pay more attention to the chat thing. I didn't scroll down, so I missed some of your questions. All right. If your product is already done, how can it be introduced through a video, or is there another way? So you have to do a video. Again, it's 90 seconds. It's short, and so if you have, it's basically an opportunity to showcase what your idea is. Now, the video doesn't have to be complicated. We stress that you can just do a cell phone video explaining what the idea is. Some people have just pitched their idea, and again, if you've got a lot of questions about videos, next week we're going to have one, a webinar on videos, and and I will show you some videos from previous years so you'll get an idea. But you can just record you pitching if that's all you have the ability to. You can also make a PowerPoint presentation that you record as a video. People have done that in the past. It's not an issue. You just want to stress about what your idea is. So if you offer a service, for example, and so it's not something you can like show on a video, then it's probably best to sort of explain how that service works, maybe showcase people using it. If you have, I'm trying to think of examples from previous years. I mean, if you have any animation of how it works, that's also would be fine to include. If there are more questions on that, let me know if I didn't answer it. Okay. Let's see. If we pass the prototype stage and the product's ready, can we still enter the competition? Yes. Hopefully I answered some of these questions going through. If you already have customers, it's not a problem. If you're beta testing, that's one of the options you can choose when you apply. It's not a problem. Can we have the link? I can provide the link to, if I go back, you can see, oops, probably have to click on this, don't I? If I go back, you can see the link. The link is www.justnetwork.org. And then to get specifically to the competition, it's Just Network, or Just Tech Eye 2019 in order to get on. So can a teen with an idea but not a startup apply? Yes, and hopefully that made sense when I explained that during during the overview of the competition, that you can apply with a startup. So how can I get a mentor? So you'll get a mentor once you start, or if you make it to the final. Also, I'll point out that there's a mentor match option on on Just Network, and to check that out, that's an opportunity. So okay. What is the benefits if you're selected? So so there are a couple of benefits. I've kind of highlighted some of them. So the benefits, in fact, there's a list of benefits in the program announcement if you want to refer to it. But so if you're selected to be in the semifinals, we immediately start pushing out your name and your idea out to the public. We reach out to U.S. embassies in your country, and we also reach out to ministries in your country to let them know about you, and news media. So you get a lot of publicity from that semifinal stage. Then if you make it to the finals, we kind of went over that too, but I'll go over it again, which is that you get the chance to win prizes, capital seed prizes. You get networking opportunities, and you get a mentor who will help you through the next 3 months is what they're supposed to help you with. You also get 2 days of training. So it's a great opportunity. Like I said, the people who are the finalists from previous years have always said that the publicity that they got was probably what they received was the most beneficial. And since we still have some time, I'll show you, like, these are, let's see, I can't see what I'm doing in terms of the video. So here's an example of something that we bring to the finals, and I'll show you. You can see in here, these are past finalists, and so basically it's like a lookbook that we highlight all the different, your name, your picture, your contact information. For people viewing this that recorded, you can't see that, but I can provide you with a link to that if you want to see it. So it's really a great opportunity to get publicity. Sometimes we'll have some probably notebooks like to take notes in and stuff like that you can use, but that's kind of secondary. Are there any other questions? It looks like that's the last question I can see. But I'll wait a few moments to see if anybody else has questions. And if you think of any questions later, feel free to email me. Again, there you can see my email on the page or on the slide, techeye@justnetwork.org. And that's the best way to reach me for any questions. I will wait a few more moments to see if you all have any other questions. I don't know. Okay. If you do, feel free to email me. Oh wait, there's a question. Any idea of innovation are welcome for this competition? Yeah, generally any idea of innovation are welcome. There has to be sort of a science and technical aspect or excuse me, science or technology aspect of it, of the innovation in order for it to succeed into making it to the next round. But usually, if you have an innovation, there are some sort of technology behind it, if not science. And you don't have to be a scientist either. I mean, many of our applicants or finalists from past years, what I can think of is Tenzike. He is not a scientist. He made that clear in his application, but that he had this innovation and went with it. So really, if it has some science or technology behind it, it's eligible to apply. And don't feel like you have to have something that somehow saves the world. We have finalists that have just technology like apps that they've designed that might not have some social benefit, but are still innovations and great. Excuse me. Okay. All right. Well, I'll wait one more minute. Make sure that there's none other questions. Yep. And if you guys, again, have any questions, send me an email. I'm here for you. I'm happy to help. So again, I'll remind you that there are future webinars on the promotional video. I'll try to send out a link to the recording of this webinar so you have it just in case you missed it or had to leave early, so you'll be able to see that. But again, the webinars next week is at 7. Make sure it's at 10 a.m. New York time, so check to make sure that you're on the same you have the right time, and I'll send out a reminder beforehand. But I'm happy that you all are interested in it, and I look forward to seeing your applications. All right, thanks. Bye. Oh, sorry. The deadline of the application was question. The deadline is November 23rd at noon. So be sure you can go ahead and fill in the application. Again, you can put filler stuff if you need to, and then come back, and then save it, and then come back and fill it in. But once the deadline passes, any saved applications will be considered submitted. Any best practices to share? I don't know. We'll go over that more. I'm trying to think of some that's kind of hitting on some of the webinar that will be on the 14th. So some last minute tips. I'm trying to think if I can remember any of those off the top of my head. But as long as you make sure it's clear what the problem is, what your innovation is, usually you'll be in good shape. I'm trying to think if there was anything off the top of my head. Let me just, if you have a second, let me just, let me see if there was anything in that webinar. Just one second. That I might mention here beforehand. Just one moment. So this is a preview of the next webinar. I mean, this pretty much goes over stuff that I've already gone over. Here's some do's that I'll go over in the next webinar, or in that webinar. Is go ahead and apply. Be creative. Sell your idea or product. Don't worry about the video quality. That's something that we always get questions on, about the video quality. And then double and triple check the information to ensure it's completed. That's a thing I will stress, is that make sure your email especially is correct, because I'm going to use that email to let you know whether or not you made it onto the semifinals. And if your email is incorrect, then I can't do that, obviously, and I won't get a response from you. So there's also, I put some don'ts. don't exceed the material length. Make sure your video is 90 seconds. Reviewers will not look at something more than 90 seconds. And if you have any problem to uploading documents, let us know, or uploading the video, let us know. And this is, don't forget to hit submit. All you have to do is remember to save, because this needs to be updated to this current application period. Used to be we had a submit button, but now we just have to save. And so once you've saved it, it'll be considered submitted once the deadline closes. So that's a preview of next week's, or in 2 weeks. So if you have any other questions, feel free to email me. I'm always willing to respond to anything. And I look forward to seeing you all's application, and hopefully I'll see you all next week too as well. All right, thanks. Bye.